2023 has certainly been a year, both inside and outside the world of hand dryers. Before we get to the world of hand dryers, let's quickly discuss a few things that happened outside. Mainly AI. AI has absolutely exploded. Tools like ChatGPT have become incredibly popular. Comparing AI from 2022 to 2023 is like night and day. Here's a screenshot from 2022 I made of an AI image generator prompt. Here's a 2023 screenshot of that same prompt in a newer AI model. Here are some more good examples of AI artwork generated in 2023. AI is not just good for generating pairs of shorts, it has also helped me out in making various things. The Lifterville game page, generated with AI. The Wick Gift Centre prank, AI. St. Pound Plus, AI. Richmond Porcelain? Okay, that one was by me, as I didn't have a ChatGPT account at that point. Microsoft has also been implementing AI into their products. Bing has now been enhanced with AI, meaning people like me are unironically using Bing over Google. I've heard Google hasn't been very good with AI in comparison. AI has also been implemented into Microsoft Paint, with Paint also getting transparency for the first time. I cannot believe it took Microsoft this long to implement it when Apple Preview, which isn't even a photo editor mind you, has supported it for several years. That just goes to show how backwards Windows is. AI has also been surprisingly good at mimicking voices. Just look up AI cover on YouTube to find various examples of AI doing popular songs. Someone in the Lift community sent me an example of an AI mimicking me. I got a little bit unnerved, but it didn't really sound much like me. I then decided to make my own AI model using clips from various videos I made. The result definitely made me feel a bit unsettled. As the vertical transportation mechanism within this multi-story edifice orchestrates its intricate choreography, it diligently executes the primary function of elevating. But I wanted to push it to its limits. What happens when you force songs through it? Well, here's your answer. It's you're the one for me, the way you make them not feel like way you might be down. You're really tired that you're not really tired. I decided to make a compilation of AI recordings and upload them to YouTube as how I practice my lift tours voice. It managed to fool a lot of people. I have also switched the video editor I use. I used to use OpenShot Video Editor mainly because it was the only one that could run on my crap laptop and supermarket PC. Then when I switched to my current computer, I kept using OpenShot because I was used to it. But in April 2023, I decided to try out DaVinci Resolve, and the first video I edited it wasn't some standalone lift or hand dryer video, or a basic little test video. It was my Tunbridge Wells lift tour. Alright, that's enough about other stuff. Let's talk about the hand dryer community. Mostly it felt like an extension of the end of 2022, but I came to an interesting realization. If I, or UK Hand Dryers, does something, everyone will copy. Here's an example. I decided to film a few self-checkouts, and the moment I uploaded them to YouTube, suddenly everyone started filming them. Another thing that happened was the Air Force fires. A few supermarkets have had major fires that may or may not be caused by Air Force hand dryers. Sainsbury's Chippenham had a minor fire in the male toilets, which was caused by a hand dryer, presumably an Air Force. Sainsbury's Kings Lynn had a major fire, which was somewhat close to the toilets but was speculated to have started in the clothing aisle. An unknown Morrison's was evacuated after a fire happened in the female toilets. However, it is unknown whether this was started by a hand dryer. Morrison's Pakefield had an Air Force which nearly caught fire when UK hand dryers used it. For some reason, people got all these fires mixed up with one another, but the most peculiar thing was that people didn't start hating Air Forces. Probably because UK hand dryers dictated people to like them. Now, let's talk about some rare hand dryers I found in 2023. Well, I own a very rare hand dryer, the Nova 6. It's funny, because back when I joined the community, the Nova 6 was a rumour. That's right, a rumour. Not just in the British community, but in the American one too. That's how rare it was. I also managed to find a Richmond porcelain for the first time, shortly after I made the community post prank. I'll let you know my opinions on this hand dryer later in the video. One hand dryer that I can with 100% confidence call rare is this 1980s Ander located at Old Town Hall in Richmond. Despite its age, it's still in fairly good condition, although it is not the best at drying hands. The toilet was given a minor refurbishment recently. The rest of Old Town Hall looks very, very dated. Another hand dryer that can be considered rare is this PHS Warner Howard branded Model A, located at the Victoria and Albert Museum. Due to its high price and poor drying time, it is not a very popular hand dryer today. I was fairly shocked when I saw this. When I went in 2022, it was a Warner Howard branded one. The only other person who has found PHS Warner Howard branded Model A's is ZLG. World Dry have recently discontinued the A series as well as the base model SmartDry, Nova 4, Global and No Touch. World have likely done this to cut costs as well as to boost sales of the VerdiDry. PHS came up with the idea of rebranding the VerdiDry as the Air Force Slim. It's a horrible name, but it appears to be working. Very soon we'll start seeing VerdiDry installations. AirDry have also discontinued some dryers. Now in 2023, they have discontinued the Quest and Quartz, two of their most popular hand dryers. Once again, this was likely done to boost sales of the Quantum. Alright, this is about rare hand dryers. One example of a rare but crap hand dryer is this Ander Brander, located at the Ruined Arch Toilets in Kew Gardens. This replaced a broken Vent Axia power dry earlier this year. Not only is it the newest Ander I use, it's also the cheapest. Most Ander Branders are the quiet 425843 or the ridiculously loud 427743. This is neither. This is the extremely rare 425463, which is the base model Ander Brander. The reason why this hand dryer is so rare is the same reason why the A10 series is more common than the A0 series. A rather bizarre hand dryer would be this Dan dryer located at a French McDonald's. Dan dryers are extremely rare in the UK. Or are they? Let's take a closer look at the vent style of this train hand dryer. Now let's compare it to the Dan dryer. Now to an even more bizarre rare hand dryer. Electric Perry. One of the most ridiculous designs I've ever seen. It was absolutely rubbish at drying my hands, and I'm very surprised it's held up for 20 years. That's right, this hand dryer is located on a ferry that was built in the year 2000, and the hand dryer appears to be original. I'll get to the other hand dryer here in the combos section. The most boring rare hand dryer that I found would have to be the Quiet K2012 at Garson's Garden Centre. I appeared to have been the first to film this in the UK, but I was incredibly underwhelmed by it, probably because it shares a motor with a K2009. Garson's Garden Centre has another set of toilets with a foot dryer, because Gardens is also a pick-your-own farm. The foot wash is meant to clean those who are walking in sandals, but it's in a very poor state. Looks like I need to do my weekly shopping. Let's go to Sainsbury's and see what it has. A 9kJ? That's ultra unusual. It looks like Sainsbury's are moving away from PHS and onto Canon Hygiene, as most of the PHS related products have been replaced with Citron Hygiene, apart from the Air Forces. And now Sainsbury's are trialling Dyson, which can also be provided with a Citron Hygiene contract. And it looks like Sainsbury's will very soon be fully Citron Hygiene. So bye bye Air Force. Now let's fly over to Gatwick. Gatwick already has quite a few rare hand dryers, including the EcoCurve and Smart Dry Plus. But what if I told you that's not the only rare hand dryer? No. Gatwick also has 8th generation Mitsubishi jet towels in silver. Not only are these my first 8th gen jet towels, they're also branded as Canon, which you don't see every day. Let's now go to the Science Museum. What on earth is that? I would have filmed it if it was working, but sadly it wasn't. What was working though is this Joffel Futura at the Changing Places. I'm pretty sure I filmed the first one in the UK. It's got a poor drying time, but it does have a steel case. What I find odd is that the Changing Places went for a push-button hand burner, even though it first opened in 2021. Most of the other toilets here have Dysons, with a few exceptions, which leads me to my next rare hand dryer. This 90s air dry classic is in a very beaten up state, but I'm completely amazed it's held up in a place as busy as the Science Museum. It didn't even sound as rough as I imagined. Most air dryers when they get to that condition make a whining sound, but this didn't. Alright, let's now go over some unique combos. Staying in the Science Museum, we have the most McDonald's combo there is. An air dry Quarto and an Air Fury. I believe there are McDonald's with similar combos, but with a Quest instead of a Quarto. It's still an interesting combo nonetheless. Science Museum is also home to this, a 90s air dry Quarto alongside a Dyson V. These hand dryers are over 20 years apart, yet they're both in very good condition. Ironically, the Dyson was only a few seconds quicker. Science Museum appeared to do constant maintenance of these dryers. This is definitely my favourite combo of the year. Let's now move on from the Science Museum and back onto the ferry. The electric Perry was in a horrible combo with the Zinder. Evil Zinder GSX 1900 or whatever it's called. All the other hand dryers on this ferry were that. Does the Ander Foot Dryer and Bio Dryer Executive at Garson's count as a bizarre combo? Of course we need to talk about Kew Gardens. Unfortunately, almost all the toilets here have been refurbished, and there's only one strange combo left. That is the one I mentioned earlier of the Series 5000 and base model Anderbrander. Let's go over to France and into this restaurant. Why is there a JVD Master and an ABO3? That's not even the weirdest bit. There are two cubicles. One has a sink and paper towels, and the other just has paper towels. How bizarre. Alright, now it's time to talk about the top 5 best and worst hand dryers. Starting with the 5th worst, it's the Quarriot K2016. This hand dryer has somehow worse reliability than the PHS Airstream and worse dry times. The only positive I have of this hand dryer is the steel casing. Now to the 4th worst hand dryer, which is loud, slow, and ugly. All of Zinder's non-high speeds are absolutely terrible dryers. The GSQ 250 has got to be one of the loudest and most energy consuming hand dryers for the amount of dry time it has. The GSX 1800 has one of the worst sensors, and the GSX 2000 is downright useless. The GSX 2000 is fairly loud for a hand burner and has less powerful and barely warm air. There's also one at an airport. That's right, an airport. And for some really ridiculous reason, the one at the airport has an ABS case, even though Zinder only sell them in an aluminium case, meaning that the airport would have wasted money on getting a downright useless custom cover. Now to the 3rd worst. The Air Dry Quantum is one of the most overpriced hand dryers out there. It has a pathetically long dry time, horrid reliability, and makes an absolutely horrid sound when you use it. Yet it costs £8. £100! The Quest and Quartz were much better than this. Now the second worst hand dryer is a story that makes me sad. What happens when you're a British company making very good hand dryers, but then you lose to some Chinese companies? Well, instead of making a blade format, blade hand dryer, they fell and released the Underbrander. Rather than jump on the high-speed trend, Anda decided to release a hand dryer that was the same price as the Chinese hand dryers. The Chinese hand dryers are already bad enough, but this takes the cake. This hand dryer is far too loud. It doesn't even attempt to dry your hands, and I dare you to find one that doesn't sound like it's about to explode. And now, what could possibly worse than the Underbrander? You may be asking, well, this stupid hand dryer is pathetic, slow and cheap. It's the Richmond Porcelain. This is the worst hand dryer I've ever used. It's incredibly slow. It may not be loud, but in comparison to your typical hand burner, it is far too noisy. It is made out of the nastiest, cheapest, flammable plastic, and I'm fairly sure it doesn't conform to the UK's strict safety standards. Worst of all, the internals are just reused from a cheap hairdryer with the controls replaced with a sensor. At number 5, we've got the Huiyi HKJA, a series of hand dryers that was introduced nearly 18 years ago, yet looks and acts like a modern hand dryer, with a quick dry time, blue light and optional HEPA filter, although the HEPA filter does look a bit tacky. At number 4, we have the Pebble, a very reliable and fast hand dryer. Very recently, I discovered that the Pebble was designed by a company called Goodwin, a company based in Hong Kong but with a design team in Vienna. At number 3, we have the American Dryer Extreme Air. This hand dryer definitely needs to return to the UK. The motor is it the same acceleration? But anyway, it's a faster hand dryer and also features adjustable speed and is an optional plasma shooting alien in disguise. The second best hand dryer is the Accelerator. This is the first ever hands under high speed, releasing all the way back in 2001. I must admit, the design of the Accelerator has aged extremely well. Just put one in a modern set of toilets and it will not look out of place at all. It also comes with an optional HEPA filter and has adjustable speed, heat and sensor range. This is the year the Mitsubishi Jet Towel turns 30, and for that alone, the Jet Towel goes in number 1. The Mitsubishi Jet Towel is what started out the high-speed hand dryer. Back in 1992, Mitsubishi had created some major advancements in compact high-speed brushless motors. But then engineers came up with the idea of morphing chamber dryers into a chamber where you stick your hands in and high-powered jets will rapidly blow the water off. And thus, the Mitsubishi Jet Towel was born. There were several different generations of Jet Towel through the years. However, the only ones common are the 8th generation Slim and Smart. 7th generation and prior are extremely hard to find. Pond Productions managed to find an old one, branded as Heat Store of all things, in the Isle of Man. And I remember seeing a blog post from 2010 with the 7th generation. And that's the end of 2023. What an interesting year this was. from the rise of AI to the discovery of a PHS spawner Howard 848. Who knows what 2024 has in store for us? Before I end this video, let's quickly go over some predictions I made in 2022. Perhaps we'll finally see an Easy Dry, or an Over 2, or maybe a Comac. Who knows? Only time will tell. And now for some predictions for 2024. Firstly, I think we'll find an Air Force Slim. Secondly, there will be some more 7th generation and prior jet tails that will be found. Finally, some more companies including Sainsbury's will move away from Air Force. But those are just predictions. Who knows if they'll come true? Only time will tell. Happy New Year, everybody!